Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1967 Plymouth Belvedere. Up front is a 4.5 liter V8 and down below is a 3-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Plymouth Belvedere for two reasons. First of all, I have never driven a Plymouth before. This is my first car with the Plymouth name on the front, which is always super exciting to add a name to my repertoire. But the second reason I'm super excited, and the more important reason I'm excited to be driving this here Belvedere, is because it's a 3-speed manual shifted on the tree. This is a 3 on the tree car, and I've never driven 3 on the tree before, and I'm super excited about it. So let's get back to that 4.5 liter 273 cubic inch V8. Well, there was a bunch of engines offered here in the Belvedere for 1967. You could get from a slant 6 all the way up to a Hemi V8 in this car, and so this is a somewhat mid-range engine for a pretty much base model car. This is a Belvedere 1, which has very minimal features, and this is also the sedan, which was the less sought after version of the Belvedere, so just keep that in mind. I'll put the factory horsepower and torque up on the screen. It's nothing crazy. This is not a fast car. This is not a drag car like many people might think it is today. Back in the day, this is just an honest family sedan. The only reason this car had a V8 was for smoothness. It's not a powerhouse, as the power numbers show. And so what's really exciting about this engine is that it really reinforces sort of the American road trip for me. The floaty V8 just kind of carries you along. And it's a beautiful morning this morning out here in the Midwest of the United States, and you can't help but feel just this sort of nostalgia with it. I absolutely love the feeling of it. Now, like I said, paired to it, 3-speed manual transmission. Shifting on the tree is definitely very different, and it's taking me a little bit of getting used to, but the idea is the same as a traditional manual shifter. First gear is towards you and down. Second gear is away from you and up. Third gear is away from you and down. That's it. It only has 3 gears, and the first gear is unsynchronized. So you really only use it when you are starting from a stop. The clutch pedal is the same as any other manual transmission vehicle from the era, but the interesting thing is that there's so much travel in the clutch before it actually bites. Now this car, of course, is from the late 60s and has 124,000 miles on it, so do with that what you will. Last but not least, of course, the Plymouth Belvedere is rear wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. We have some interesting bits to talk about in here. Well, in front of me, I get a bunch of gauges. On the left, I have my temperature and fuel, which it actually says gasoline. Find that kind of interesting. Then I have my lights and wiper motor switches. Then moving into the center, I get my speedometer. Definitely some older style here, as it's almost like a curved square. And then to the right, I have my alternator and my oil pressure. Sort of within the gauge cluster, I also have my heating and cooling options. Now this, again, is a base model, so I don't get AC. However, there's a remedy for that we'll talk about a little bit later on. And then we come to the steering wheel. The steering wheel is incredibly thin, which I do get a little ring for the horn, which works. I love that. And I do get a nice Plymouth badge right in the center. To the left of me, I do have my flashers. Moving on to the door, I have manual adjustments for my mirror. I do have a little smoker's window, which is very, very nice. You can open that and get a little bit extra airflow if you'd like. And then down at the bottom of the door, I do have a crank window. Of course, all manual windows here in the Belvedere. Moving into the center, I just have a very simple radio. I like how it says Plymouth Trans Audio. Not a transponder, but trans audio, which is pretty interesting. And I just love that sort of outdated grammar. But then I do get a glove box off to the right, and that's it. Because this is a 3 on the tree car, it frees up a lot of space to my right knee. I don't have to sacrifice any space for any type of shifter. So my knee can tap dance if it wants to. Not that I should. Down on the floor by the clutch pedal, I actually do have a little button, and this is for your brights. This is pretty typical of 60s, 70s, and even 50s cars, is having the brights down on the floor. So if you want to flash your brights, give it a little toe kick. Of course, the 1967 Plymouth Belvedere fails the big friggin' bottle test on the basis that it has no cup holders. Under the dash, I do have a ashtray, and then I have this little vent. You pull this out, and this will actually open side vents that allow cold air, or air, into the cabin of the car. So while you don't have AC, you can pretty much get away with just opening these vents as long as it's not a 1,000,000-degree day. Now we gotta talk about the seats. The seats have been reupholstered, but this is the same way that they would have appeared in 1967, and I love them. They're very, very comfortable. They're very cushiony, and as the owner Tom said, they are part of the suspension of the car. They're very bouncy, but they're comfortable in a sort of fun 60s way. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 1967 Plymouth Belvedere sedan, and this is really, really cool. I have plenty of space back here. My knees aren't hitting the front seat. There's no headrest here, so I could just fully see everything that's going on, which is really, really neat. I do have lap belts back here. I don't obviously get a center console. I have crank windows, and I have ashtrays in either door, but that's it. This was really before seat belts were really a big deal, and so you could fit your family back here. You want to shove 4 kids back here? Sure, shove them back here. No one's going to stop you. Which, just being back here, it's so cool. How many families went on road trips and went to restaurants back here and just jammed everyone and the dog in the back? It's just so cool. I'm sure many, many people have been raised back here, which is really neat. Let's go take a quick look at the trunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. So, because it is a 60s car, there is a separate key for the trunk. And there it is. Very, very large. I mean, you can fit a family of 5 back here and not have too much of an issue, which I absolutely love. You get this nice plaid sort of lining, but it's kind of hard. But really, that's it. This is a trunk. This is an American trunk, American steel, American trunk. I absolutely love that. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I cannot get over how cool this car looks. 60s cars generally looked really good in total. All of them looked pretty cool. We got the Mustang, we had the Thunderbird, and of course we have the Belvedere now. But I love the fact that this is in a regular beige color, regular hubcaps, and this is a 4-door, which you don't typically see. You normally saw Plymouth Belvederes as 2 doors, or convertibles, or there was even a wagon version, which I would love to seek out. But you don't really see them in these regular sedans all that much, so it's fun to see that. Now, one very interesting thing is that under the hood, there is a sort of VIN tag. It's a little card that came with these cars, and so a dealer could pull it out and get the information they needed because there weren't VIN numbers back in 1967. So here's what it looks like. I have blurred out the first owner's name for privacy, but that's what the card looked like, and it was actually a little metal card, and it has its own slot underneath the hood. Kind of a cool little 60s quirk. But now we gotta talk about my thoughts on the Belvedere as a whole. What do I think of it? So let's get the bad out of the way. All right, now let's talk about the good. I love this car so much because it is so normal. The owner, Tom, kept telling me, he's like, it's nothing special, it's nothing special. But to me, that's the most special thing. Yes, I've driven other 60s cars before, most notably the 65 Mustang. I've done a 65 and a 66 Mustang. But those are glamified versions of the 1960s. That's what everyone thinks of. That's the movie version of the 60s, with slicked back hair and a leather jacket and a little cigarette hanging out of your mouth. All things that are no longer cool. But this is what the 60s were actually like. This is a true slice of life. This does not have any rose-colored glasses. Shifting on the tree is a little bit clunkier than shifting on the floor. This car is big. It doesn't have many features. It's not wowing me with its air conditioning because it doesn't have it. It doesn't have flashy wheels. It has hubcaps. It's not a flashy color. It's not red. It's not yellow. It's beige. It's the color of vanilla ice cream, the most basic flavor there is. But this is what it was actually like to own a car in the 60s. It's not stylized. It's not played up. This car, this exact car, at some point in its life, pulled into a driveway, was parked, and its owner went inside to go watch us land on the moon. No, it wasn't parked front and center, and it was probably parked to a half dozen cars that looked identical to it. But it was good, it was honest. Someone who was making thousands and thousands of dollars in 1967 didn't go out and buy this here Plymouth Belvedere. A normal person bought one, like me and you, who maybe had a kid or two or three with a dog. So while yes, I've driven the Mustangs from the 60s and they're stylish and they're iconic, that's the movie version of the 60s. But this is the day-to-day. This is the regular car from the 60s. This is what life was actually like. And I have to say, what a treat. What a treat. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge, enormous thank you to Tom for letting me take out his Belvedere. This thing is absolutely awesome, and I'm so thankful that he has given me the opportunity to finally drive a car that is shifted on the tree. I can now get that under my belt. I can say I've done it, which is just the coolest thing in the world. Such a sweet slice of life, and I can't say enough good things about it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.